a lot of kids got sent off to the different camp. Later on, I find out Thai soldiers, they send them to a different camp so they can raise them and then they can sell them. They can use them. They sell them to foreign country. They can sell them anywhere or even sell to Thai for prostitute. So they took me, but I know at that time I heard that they were close somewhere by the Bong. And I don't know where the Bong is at that time. I don't even know the city of Bong. I was just a kid, don't know that. Suddenly a train stopped. Because they stopped because there was a woman with RPG and two soldiers, and that woman was aiming RPG at the train and make the train stop. So those were Khmer Rouge. And then they see whatever they want, they take. And they looking for Chinese. They don't like Chinese. Somehow we find out they're looking for Chinese.
Sua, and welcome to KhmerTalk, where Khmer voices don't just speak, they resonate. I'm your host today. On KhmerTalk, we explore the stories of our families, friends, neighbors, and even strangers. Stories shaped by lived experience, resilience, and cultural wisdom. Each episode is a space to connect our communities, celebrate our heritage, and sparks ideas that help us better understand one another and move forward together. Whether you're listening or watching from Cambodia or anywhere around the world, this is your space to be heard, to reflect, and to be inspired, learning from our past as we build a better future. So let's talk. On today's episode, we're diving into the powerful and often overlooked story of refugees, families, and individuals who fled Cambodia during and after Khmer Rouge era. Their journeys were marked by an unimaginable hardship, resilience, and the search for safety and belongings. In this conversation, we'll explore personal experiences of escape, life in refugee camps, and the challenges of resettlement in new countries. We'll also hear how Khmer community have preserved their traditions, rebuilt their identities, and passed on lessons of strength for future generations. My hope is by listening, we gain a deeper understanding of history, humanity, and the enduring spirit of survival. It is my honor to welcome Bong Samuel Yin, a former Khmer refugee whose journey of escape, resilience, and courage stands as a powerful testament to the human spirit. Today, he will share his lived experiences and the lesson they carry. Welcome, Bong.
Thank you. And
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
well, first, my passion is I'm a pastors of a church, New Life with Jesus Christ, here in Tacoma, Washington. And I also a martial art instructor teaching Okinawan karate and union carpenters for 24 years, and father of 3 and 4 grandkids.
So can you tell us what your experience was like, your
Well,
escape?
I'm glad you asked. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the story. One thing that I learned, all people, what we went through, many people don't get a chance to talk about this until late 1995. So the story of my life, it started back in 1974, before the fall of Vietnam. I am Khmer Kram. I'm full-blood Khmer, but I was born there in 1969. During 1974, Khmer Kram was I was just a young boy, no less than 6 years old at the time. The country was beautiful. I mean, it's peaceful. There was a lot of American there at that time. And then at that summer, as I remember, but later they started leaving, a vehicle and stuff. They were leaving our country. And then we didn't know why. But 1975 came for Vietnam, for Saigon. That's when we recognized, knowing that our enemy came in. My mother is a Khmer. My father is full-blood Khmer. My mother is a major in military police there. She in charge of the prison, the city called Bạc Liêu during that time. And she worked with American, also CIA, to capture enemy and interrogation and stuff. And my father was a captain in the South Vietnamese army. They served. And my father served for my mother, so he had his own army too. After the fall of Vietnam, the American left, the enemy came in. The first thing was they captured all the leaders and all the officers and stuff. Many were executed, and my mother was captured. My family was supposed to execute because they wanted to execute all the officers at that time. They have a list. And then my father's stay back and fought until they don't have any more bullet and stuff. So the story later on, I'm going to share a little bit, but he took his own soldiers. They got about 150 left. So they hop on American PT boat that left behind by American GI. And then they hightailed to Thailand, refugee camp. So as the Vietcong came in, they came in convoy of truck just coming through our village and stuff. They shoot whatever they want. Then they started kicking people out of the home. My mom was captured already. I was at that time. I was with my grandfathers, and my grandfather was my caretakers and watch over us at that time. But they were going to execute us, but they didn't execute my mom because she was pregnant at that time. So they say, wait until you delivered the baby. Then, meanwhile, she was in prison. But the prison camp at that time was a lot of people, they forced all the soldiers in the South, was normally Khmer. They were Khmer soldiers. They served Republican of Vietnam. Then they came in and then take whatever they want. They see nice houses, they kick those people out, like my neighbors. And I remembers, as a young kid, I didn't like school. So at that time, I was a runner. I like to go play. I like to go catch fish and stuff, at that time. But when they came in, I remember I have two friends that we always hang out together. Everywhere I go, I always have a slingshot with me. I remember at that time, we were only 6 years, most of some of us were 7. At convoys, they stopped nearby the high school. I shot one of them with a slingshot into his eye, one of the soldiers. Then they opened up fire. They opened up their machine gun. They start shooting at us. And me and him, we hide next to the rice field bank. And that rice field bank pretty tall. So the bullet, you can see the bullet just going through and hit the dirt and just like rain. And then later in 1970, they move on. So we went and survival during that time was kind of hard. But only thing that money need for was buying medicine. Food and stuff, we managed to get it from the rice field. Fish, shrimp and stuff, whatever you can survive on our field. And that is the beauty of it at that time. And then later, in 1976, in the middle of 76, they started forcing the people to dig in river. We're making salt water run into our rice field. So it killed up a lot of resource of surviving. And then that's when they released, after my mother's delivered my little brothers. And a few months later, they didn't execute her. So thank God. But they forced her to go dig the river. And all the soldiers and even civilian, they went out and dig a lot of river. Because the reason they did that, because so they can patrol with their military boat. But what it caused is the rice water run into our rice field. And it killed up our rice and shrimp and fish and all that, which kind of, ruined it. But in 1976, we started to see a lot of Khmer. Khmer people were coming in from original Khmer. They came into our village and they started sharing the story, what happening over there. So they escaped from Khmer Rouge. So there's a lot of family. A lot of our people went out and we built huts and stuff for them to have a place to have home. Along with the bank that they make us dig for the river, that's where we built most of the house for the Khmer that escape from Khmer Rouge to our country. So our Khmer Kram go out there and build houses and stuff for the people.
Okay. Well, what I'm hearing is this is happening in
Vietnam.
In Vietnam.
At that time.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And then 1977, that's when my cousin, her husband came home. So her husband say, let's leave. So we didn't know where we were going. So next thing we know, we end up in crossing the border to Cambodian. And there, that's when at that time they come, once a lot of people come from Khmer, Cambodian, and to Vietnam. to survive from the war, and they start sharing the story, what is going on over there. There's a lot of people killed. So, and then word go through the Vietnamese channel and say, hey, our people is dying. Can you go over and help? Can you do something? So what the Viet Cong did is that they trained all Khmer. They take Khmer young men at the age of 17. They give them 1 month of training, and then they send Khmer Kram go over to fight the Khmer Rouge. And that was in 1977 as they went first. And then later after that, that's when my cousin, her husband came home and said, let's go. We leaving Vietnam. And that was at 1977.
I see. Is your cousin?
Yeah.
They were older.
Yes, my mom's was always gone. My mom was an officer. She's the one that, my cousin, she was the one that pretty much raised me. We call her Aunt Bunny.
Oh, okay.
And J Bun. She was she's been taking care of me going to high school and stuff because both her parents would pass away during the wartime, and my mom took her in and take care of her and let her stay with my grandfather's. She was watching me at that time.
Okay, Bong. So how old was
my cousin?
Yeah, at that time.
My cousin's at that time, she was only about 20, 22 years old.
Okay.
During the war came in, my other aunt, the night that we lost our country, he's an officer too. And he came home. His wife was a teacher in our city, in the city of Bạc Liêu. Bạc Liêu is one of the biggest city in the South Vietnam. He's hung his 2 kids and his wife, and then he hung himself because he cannot bear, he know that they coming and they're going to kill his family. So he went and killed his own family instead. I remember that. And that house was still there, right in front of the temple. My grandfather's history was we once served the king, and that's why our family, we have over 200 acres of land in Khmer Kram. And we built temple. We give land to build temple. We give land to have a place to funeral. So my family, when they came in, they took everything. Mm-hmm. They took all the land and everything. So, but we still have our home, our old home there in Vietnam. But in 1977, that's when we decided to escape to Cambodia, because Vietnam at that time, they went to fight the Khmer Rouge and they started pushing them back up north. They heading from the south, they go back. They heading up to the Phnom Penh. So we came to Cambodia, we crossed to the Cambodian border, and then we kind of stayed like probably 2-3 weeks behind the Viet Cong and the Khmer Kram soldiers as they fighting the Khmer Rouge. And then as we go, from town to town was survival, how we survive, how we get the monies and how we get the food and stuff. At that time, wherever the Viet Cong fighting Khmer Rouge at that time, whatever they take, and the people that remain, a lot of them go to the temple for refugee. And that's where they go and stay because they have no home to go to, especially kids. Mm-hmm. I remember when we stayed in one town. I was young. I didn't pay attention to the name of the town, but I remember there's a little mountain to it. It's in the south of Cambodia, far from the Sok Trang area. Sok Trang. Yeah, Sok Trang is in the Vietnamese border.
Okay.
It's Khmer Kram, but it's on the border. But you cross it, it's right in that area. If you look at the map between the Vietnam and Cambodia map, I kind of look at it and see where was my journey was. When we got to that town, my cousin, she was a fortune teller. So that's how she make money. And her husband he designed watches. I don't know, you remember Seiko watch? Those were famous back in the old day.
Seiko, right, Mom?
Seiko, yeah. Seiko. Yeah, those only the old people remember those things. When we got there, wells and the waters and stuff was hard to get. Food was hard to get. I remember, this water, I even roped myself down. I'm down and get a little bit of water from the well. And the water was smelled like sulfur. I don't know. You ever smell sulfur? So it's real bad. And then as we live, my cousin, she watch do fortune teller. A lot of parents come back and searching for their loved one and stuff, and they ask her to do their fortune teller. And when they say, tell her that some of them come in, want to know whether their loved one passed away or not. Sometimes she tell them, your son's still alive. You soon will find him. And then some of them, the truth came true. And then what they do, they bring chicken, they bring whatever to give because they can't pay. So, and what I do, I tie the chicken up and around where the place where we staying at the temple place. And then we stay there and we stayed there about a month or two. And then they, the Buddhist, the monk, they have a little hut there for us, a bunch of them. And they say you can stay there for each family. As I remember, when Viet Cong military truck stopped, there's a lot of kids come off of it, all the kids that were found wherever they came from. And they drop them at the temple. And I remember that. And a lot of elders and stuff, and a lot of mom that don't have children, lost their children, they waiting, hoping, and they just go and just embrace either one, just grab them. Whether they're kid or not, they took them in because they lost their loved one. As for me, I'm one of those kids that's snoop around, nosy, looking for trouble, not for trouble, looking for a way to survive. Took a peek into their truck after they did letting the kids. Couple truck, they didn't have any kids in it, and I kind of snoop around. But I saw there's a lot of gold that Viet Cong took back to their country. And those golds were like Buddhist monks' head and stuff that I saw. Some of the story, a lot of people don't really want to tell and say, but there's a purpose and plan. Just drop back to the story a little bit. During the Vietnam in 1975, in the middle of summer, I playing soccer, I remember, and kicking a soccer ball, and I was the goalie. A friend of mine kicked the soccer, and it just panned through, and I went to pick up the ball. But behind me, where we were playing, few graveyard tombs, and suddenly there was an old man sitting there. And, being a Gun Khmer, we always show respect to our elders. Doesn't matter who is. And I'm one of those kids, seem like I know a lot of people in my village, but I never seen this man before. He dressed all in white, long beard, great white hair, and he sit on top of the stone and just watching us, and he said, "Come here." So I went to him. He run his hand through my head, and he say, "Son, I want to tell you 3 things." He say to me, "You will travel far with a young lady, and then you're going to be different from your people. Never ever let anyone hit the top of your head." Those were the 3 things that he told me. But I never seen this man before. And then I turned my head and go and play, and then I turn around and look. I didn't see him again. So keep that in mind. That's what's part of my beginning of my story. So went back to where I was snooping around looking at the truck, and then later on I see what they were carrying. I didn't say anything. And then we stayed there for another month, so a total of 3 months. And then we move on. We move on to the next 2-3 months. We move we stay in one area about a month, 2 months, and then we move on again and again. And then until we heard that the Vietnamese soldier pushing past Phnom Penh, that's when a lot of people started going to Phnom Penh. Yeah. So we followed them. And then when we got to the Phnom Penh, at that time in 1977, you can look at all the buildings, the bullet hole everywhere. I mean, all the bullet hole and stuff, as I remember. And there was bodies were floating down the river. You can see some of the body co-op that floating in the river. There's a lot of them. And some you can see pink, blue bags over their head and stuff floating down. Dead soldiers. And in the streets, hardly, not many people. Sometimes you see a dozen. Sometimes you don't hardly see anybody there at Phnom Penh at that time. And then we heard a lot more people were staying close to the temple, and that's where most people at the temple. And at the capital where the king was at that palace. There's a lot of them right there. And then, yeah.
So, Bong, can you tell me a little bit, what the condition was like? I mean, how do you guys get food?
Yeah. So the best way was the water. We won't touch anything along the river because there's so many corpses that are floating along there. So nobody really touching the water there. So we just had to search some of the buildings that have well water behind their home and stuff. And some of them, they throw body parts in there. And that's why we didn't really get the water. You got to look at where the water is. And sometimes we just go out to the rice field, but the rice field, certain area, you can see dead bodies stuff too. The best way was that every time it rained, we trying to get water and reserve the rainwater. And that's how we use that. But the water elsewhere we wash clothes and stuff with, that's okay. But when it come to eating, drinking and stuff, we boil our water first at that time. But the well was most of our Khmer home. They have a lot of well. And some of the wells that we went look, they have dead bodies in them. They throw them in there. And then I remember the S-21. The S-21 is where all the skeleton and everything, the dead bones, they were scattered all over the place. They wasn't stacked like that. I remember that. Go ahead.
How about food?
Food is, at that time, there's vegetable in the rice field, and fish and stuff out in the rice field that you can get. And that's what's part of it. And banana, mango, fruit and stuff. Those were part, and coconut and stuff. That's how we survive. And then once we go from city to city, Phnom Penh at that time, 75, I think about, to me as a child, at that time I was around seven, close to 8 years old. I'm very clever kid, very observed. I'm an observed person, because the thing is I want to able to observe certain area. I know where to go, where not to go. So the food part is we always go. Go is the most important, because every time you make whatever money you have, you got to go and buy gold with it. And buy gold, and what it is, you buy gold from whoever who can have the gold, then you buy from them. And that's what we do. And we save that. And because the journey, as we go on, money have no value. Really, money had no value at all. So it's more of a trade. You trade. You want salt, you want mong ngok, MSG, salt, cigarette. You buy whatever you can to sell it. And once you sell it, at that time, money changed every minute. The current change, because once they pass the Khmer Rouge and whatever intelligence we have, they trying to make resource, trying to bring back little life, little hope in each village. And that's how each village, they start bringing in vegetables, they start planting, start growing, they start selling, and that's how people start to survive. Not many people were escaping. They see hope right there. When later on I found, the hardest part was when we got to the Phnom Penh, and then we decided to go instead of following behind the tank and the Viet Cong to our journey. We didn't know where we were going. Really, we don't. We just hear, okay, we just go. And a lot of people at that time, trying to escape Vietnam. They look for a boatway and everything, but we take the roadway. So we, when we left Phnom Penh, we heard that the train Phnom Penh was running. So people was hopping on top of the train, were riding from Phnom Penh to another town. I don't remember the name of the town, but I think I remember that when we ride on top of the train, there was two mountains side by side, and the train was running straight right in the middle. And as the train stopped, make a turn, a wrap around in the center of the two mountains. Those two mountains, there's a bunch of little houses that up there. That's what I remember. Inside the car, nobody sit inside the car. Everybody right on top of the train at that time. And then suddenly a train stopped. Because there was a woman with RPG and two soldiers, and that woman was aiming RPG at the train and make the train stop. So those were Khmer Rouge. And then they see whatever they want, they take. And they looking for Chinese. They don't like Chinese. Somehow we find out they're looking for Chinese, and they also take whatever they want. But I remember they escort a gentleman down and with his 10-speed, took his 10-speed. So I remember that. And then the train go on, and they go on to the next town. And once they go there, then the train is stopped. It won't go any further. And that's when we got down. We stayed there. And then when we stayed there, about 3 days later, Khmer Rouge came in, captured that town. And that's where we got separated. My cousin and I, we got separated from there. And that's where they took me, go one way, and my cousin and her husband and her son, they went separate. And I don't know why they take me a different way. So they took me and put me on a wagon where a bunch of other kids too. And then they start heading north, away from where the train is. So they heading north. I know that. So, but after that, I don't know where my cousin went. So my story from there, that's where it changed. So they took me, but I know at that time I heard that they were close somewhere by the Bong, and I don't know where the Bong is at that time. I don't even know the city of Bong. I was just a kid, don't know that. But
Mhm.
I heard we not far from it. That's what they saying. They take us at that time. There's 3 wagon, almost 40 something kids at that time, and some of them are older. Some of them like in their 17, their 16, 15, you name it. And there's kids about my age, and they take us to that area, and then it took us almost 2 days, and then 2 days, 2 nights, and then we finally got to the camp, and then that's where I started seeing how big the camp was, and there's a lot of kids, a lot, a lot of women too. They were soldiers camp, and then he told us, he say, from right here, he divided up how many kids have to do job and chores and stuff around the camp, and they say, you want to eat, you gotta do what we tell you, or we kill. And then he tells us certain things. He say, no more crying. If you show any kind of tears, any crying or laughter or joy, we kill you. And your job is very simple. You put bullet in a clip, and you clean our boots, you clean our rifle, and this is all you guys' job. And then when time to train, you go out there and train with those kids that is older than you. And there was girls and stuff there too at that time. So we stayed there, I think probably about a month. And then later on, a lot of them were trained to put out landmine, trick wires, and sit and grenade, booby trap and stuff in the wood. And they were taught us how to do those things. They bring us out there and teach us how to do those. And only thing is, the thing that we get to eat was rice and maybe a little bit of tiny dry fish, and sometimes rice with salt. Those were the only things that we get to eat. And maybe we lucky we get a little bit of sweet potato. So after that month, that's when we stayed about a month, and then later we hear airplanes came in. And in airplane, they start opening up fire on the soldiers, and they kill a lot of them, and then everybody scatter and run. So we all ran, in this group of us, we ran into the wood, and we just follow each other's. And one of them step on landmine, and it blow 5 of them up, and their body gone. You see them a minute, and then it's just gone. And then I remember the scrapmetal, the landmine blow up. The thing that they taught us is to lay down. And when we lay down, the scrap metal came down. It was hitting us on the back. Me and 5 other that was still alive. A lot of us had burning skull. I mean, it burned so bad. It hurt. And I don't know, you ever get something burned on your skin. And it's smelly. And the best way to cool it down was rolling. That's how we shut it off. But we managed to make it to the rice field bank and grab rice field bank and rub it on. That's how we cooled down our body heat. And then after that, we just kind of watch where we're going and follow each other until we found an older gentleman and about a couple of them. So we started following them. And it took, as we followed the trail in the wood, and then we finally find the desert, got too close to the desert. In that desert, there's hardly anything. A lot of dead body, bones, skeleton. I remember the skeleton of a little baby. The little baby skeleton is bigger than a little cup like that, just a little bit. I remember that. That's why I still remember that. But there's a lot of corpse and skeletons all place have. Most of them, you can see pink bags, garbage bag, blue garbage bag. Those were the things that I remembers and become part of my memory. And then we followed those people until we crossed to the border, close to the border of Thailand. We're not in Thailand. We just got to the border, and we got there. Those gentlemen, they were, I don't know, they probably Khmer Rouge too. They just escaping from the soldiers. So, but we kind of followed them a little bit. We kind of, all 5 of us, we kind of stayed distant. But meanwhile, as we going, the way to survive as you travel in the jungle, the grass, the green grass, got root. You pull the roof up, you find that green with that white, and that's where you grease for nutrition and waters. and mango or whatever, banana, whatever you can find. That's the food. And sometimes you can eat those grass to survive a little bit. So as we travel for a day or two, those were like our food, our resource. Whatever those men, if they give it to us, they give it to us. I remember they gave us some mango. That was it. And then they told us to be real quiet. And we traveled in the night. And then we kind of got to the border. When we got to the border, and then it's like this, and here's Khmer border, where they have Republican Khmer Rouge pilot soldiers patrol there and take care of those camps. On this side is Thai. So we got there, and I got there about 2 days, and then finally I saw my cousin. My cousin found me, and we reunited there at that camp.
How long did it take you to reunite with your...
I think 1 month and a half. 1 month and a half, yeah.
So what did you do at that time? What was
Well,
your...
when we got there, at that camp, there's nothing you can do but just sit and wait and seeing that we can, go to the camp, to the border. And to the border, this camp here is just another border. So the border is just like another click. It's just from here to Tacoma. But you got to know your trail. If you don't know your trail, you get killed real easy. We stay there for a month, and then there's Camp 1, there's Camp 2. Camp 3 is the biggest camp. That's Khao-I-Dang. That's where people can go into. Khao-I-Dang in 1978, that's when we were right there in 78. They came in, the Khmer Rouge came in to kill all the people on Camp 2. And then, a week before that, my cousin said, let's go there. And my his wife said, no, don't go. A week later, that camp got destroyed. When that happened, Khao-I-Dang volunteer doctors and Thai soldiers and stuff, they just make over here and check this camp and see if anybody survive. So as they came to check on us, the French doctor saw my cousin real good looking, and he was flirting with her. And he said, hey, want to take her for a wife? And he said, no, I'm married and all that. But at that time, I managed to, communicate French a little bit. I also know French too, language, because the Vietnamese make us learn it. Right there, that's when they say that the French doctor say, I can help you get to Khao-I-Dang, but you have to be sick, you have to be wounded, or you got to be injured or something. So he throw us into an ambulance, and because Thai soldiers, they search all that, and when we got to the border and the Thai opened up the truck, all he saw was just a bunch of sick, vomit people that we never ride in the truck, in the back of the truck.
So you got sick for real, right?
Yeah, we got seasick, and I mean, vomit was everywhere. We were seasick. And that was the only thing that saved our life. I mean, the other thing is, yeah.
So your dream came true, right?
Yeah. So we got into the camp. When we got there, they take us to where the medical is, and that's where we were first. And then we looked, and the camp was real big. Khao-I-Dang was real big, but so many Khmer. And then we got there, and then they find us a place to stay and everything. And then they got wire fence everywhere. And then there's another camp on the other side of the road, but it's small. And that was the Vietnamese camp. So as the reason we saw that, because where the Khmer camp is, they dig 5 wells for water. And the Khmer, they started having their little market. They grow vegetables. They grow snow pea, green beans. The Thai give them tuna fish, can of tuna fish, rice, and green snow pea. The cooking rice was rice and green beans cooked together. That gives you nutrition and protein. And that was the rice that we eat in. And at that time, they give us that. They gave each family 5 cans of tuna fish and half a chicken and 5 cans of rice. 2 5-gallon bucket water to survive on for a week, each week. So you got to do research, how you going to keep warm and stuff. So, but it's so many people there at the Khmer camp, so we sneaked under the fence to the Vietnamese camp. At that time, the Vietnamese camp, they don't have any, they have tents. They have little tents, and it's not many people there. So because we look at the Khmer camp with so many people, we can't.
So, Bong, did you speak Khmer
Yes.
during that time?
Oh, yeah.
You did. You
Yeah.
were both Khmer and...
I spoke Khmer, Vietnamese,
okay.
and also a little bit of French and Chinese.
Oh, okay.
So at that time, but it's enough for me to survive with Chinese and the French. But the Vietnamese were fluent and the Cambodian was fluent at that time. And then when I make it there to the Vietnamese camp, so a week later, they let us stay there. And 2 weeks later, that's when Thai soldiers started bringing in bamboo and start dropping off. And then they say, you want a house? You build it. Build yourself. So a lot of people help each other out, building one at a time. And that's how we built that camp up. Because the Cambodian camp, they built up already, but they built stacked like this. And you can see it. It was so many of them. It was made out of bamboo. Some of you later on came into a brick house and housing and stuff, looked like apartment. That's later on, not in 1978, 79. No, we had it rough. And the way to survive at that time at the Vietnamese camp was they distributed the same thing like they did over the Cambodian camp, but they got fence. And the soldiers, they patrol around the camp like this. Every 20 minutes, once in a while, you know, they patrol.
Who patrolled? The Thai?
The Thai, yeah, they patrolled the camp. And at nighttime, Khmer Rouge from the mountain, they would shoot in. You can see bullet tray coming into the camp at night. So what we do, each camp, each house, they build a bamboo hut, build a bed out of bamboo and everything. But in the center, you dig a hole. You dig a hole right in the center. So if they shoot, everybody jump in and lower there. That's how we keep it low.
But it's like a bunker, right?
Yeah,
Did I say right? That right?
Yeah,
a bunker.
It is. We call it a foxhole.
Yeah. Okay. Foxhole. Okay.
Yeah, we call it a foxhole, and we dig that. So at the Vietnamese camp, they dig one like that, and at the Cambodian camp, sometimes they do it too, but I don't see many. We didn't stay there long enough to reserve, but. When the Vietnamese, they started running out of water, they say, we need water. So I told them, I said, I can speak Khmer, I can roll over and get water, but you got to give me something. So I'm more like a hustle. Whenever I see the Thai truck wetting the road to keep the dirt down, I would run out there, sneak under the fence, and follow the truck trying to get water. Those water, we can use it for shower. So the best way to survive at that time was getting garbage bag. You take bamboo, and you wrap it, you make it like a bucket, and you put 2 bags in, one for clean water, one for drink water, one for washing. So whenever it rains, we say, whenever the Thais bring the truck in to fill up the water tank, and everybody have to line up for 2 buckets. And sometimes we have to till the tank and crawl in there, take your T-shirt, soak it in, and get as much water as you can. And you let that water cool down, dust and everything go down. Then you take the top part and you burn it, you boil it, and that way you have clean water. That's how we survive. So when they ran out of water, they send me to say, well, can you sneak under the fence, go to Cambodian camp, get us water, and we give you this, or whatever they want. They want salt, they want MSG, they want snow peas, they want vegetables, whatever. I sneak across because at the camp, there's certain areas they have canal. I don't know you understand the word canal. Canal is like a little ditch of water that run between it. And that's where the water runs down from the road. And sometimes they have water there, and the water is muddy. Okay? But wherever water is in Asia, they have food source, right? Fish and stuff in it. So that's how we survive.
So, Bong Sam, just tell us a little bit who is not a Khmer listener, right?
Yeah.
For other listener about the condition, typical tropical climate, right? Hot weather, that's why the water is such a hot commodity, right?
Yeah. Water is very, very important. The first thing, resource to survive is water. Because during at that time where you travel, like I told you, when we travel from city to city, there's certain area. we buy gold, 14 karat for a bowl of rice, and for a bowl of rice that cook and piece of meat and water, 14 karat gold. That's nothing, okay? But, there's certain areas more expensive than that. But water is very important part of our resource that we need it most.
So it's really unsanitary, right?
It is. It is.
The condition that you were living that you can recall during that age, right? So now moving forward, now you're in
different. Yeah. So back to the camp at that time, before they start digging trench and stuff for honey bucket and stuff, people used to go out in the field, just do their thing, and it's into the point. So Thai start making us dig trench and make toilet and out of bamboo and stuff. So that's how later on it became that. About 1978, things was getting better, and then in the mills, 1979, beginning in 1979, that's when we got sponsored to Philippines first. They say Philippines. Oh, we're going Philippines. So before that, because of me and my cousin, when we were in Thai camp, the thing that we see a lot of problem was a lot of children that make it to the camp, they didn't have parents. So what the Thai was trying to do was to take all the kids that don't have parents, they put them in a different camp. They ship them off to a different camp. And my cousin didn't want that to happen. So she adopted, do the paper and say, you become my child. So, and then name was changed and birthday was changed because to her, she's too young to have that old of a son. So my name changed to Tran Juk Yen. That was her husband's last name. And then my name was Yen Yen. The reason my mom and dad named me that, because if one of my parents die or I got adopted, then they can track down one of my names. That's why my name means lifted up high. That's what my name means. The story there, when we finally got sponsored to, the reason, go back to where a lot of kids got sent off to the different camp. Later on, I find out Thai soldiers, they sent them to a different camp so they can raise them and then they can sell them. They can use them. They sell them to foreign country. They can sell them anywhere or even sell to Thai for prostitute.
Human trafficking, huh?
Trafficking, yes. They sell to slavery. And they say, they want to let them go live there until they reach a certain age. But we hear stories come back. That's what happened to them. And some of those kids in 1977, 78, and 79, later on we find out that's what was going on. We don't want to be hateful or anything, but thank you that Thai people open up their country for all people, because that's where our emperor was hiding, our king was hiding, the Khmer king was hiding at that time. So we got to go to Bangkok. That's where we fly out from. We fly out from Bangkok to Philippines. But first time on an airplane, nobody know where we going and stuff. So everybody just hop up on the airplane. What is this, And here we are up in the air and go to Philippines. And when we got to Philippines, we got out and then they didn't have space for us. They didn't have any more room for us for the first day. So we stayed there that night. And then next day, they ship us all into a boat to Indonesia. They ship us to an island called Kalang Island. So some of Khmer, some of Gun Khmer, senior Khmer, they know Kalang Island. Kalang Island is the Kalang 1 is for the Vietnamese. Kalang 2 is for Khmer. And that's where Jenda was, my wife. She was on Kalang 2. Later on, I found out she was there. And it was just that almost the same year. But Kalang 2 is a nice apartment house building. Kalang 1, it was a train. They turned a train cargo into a living quarter for the refugee. And in Kalang, they have on a hill, they have a Buddhist temple, as I remember. And my favorite place there, Kalang Island is my favorite place because a waterfall and the beach and the ocean, everything was around. That's where most boat people that escaped from Vietnam, boat people, that's where they end up.
So Kalang is where about?
Kalang is Indonesia.
Malaysia.
Malaysia.
Oh, Malaysia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kalang is an old Japanese military base during World War II. Do a little bit of research on it. We stayed there about 6 months. And the way to survive was we make French bread and sell in the morning. So her husband learned how to make French bread. So we make French bread, and in the morning, I put it on top of my head, and I go from the Vietnamese camp, and then I snoop into Camp 2. On the way to Camp 2, Kalang 2, there's a grave, the Japanese grave. I don't like to cross it because I'm scared. That's the only time I ever scared of anything, you know? And I wait until the Malaysia people drive a vehicle by, then I run as fast as I can just to pass that grave. But when I got there, I have to do the same thing when I come back. And that's when Galang is the first. Let me take you back at the refugee camp at Gada. I remember one time I got captured snooping out the fence line with 2 other kids. And looking for trying to get charcoal off the truck because the Thai bring charcoal in for us to burn. So I run behind it and trying to pour it. And I remember I poured one, the whole bag fell on me. I was black as it can be. Okay, that was the charcoal. And the Thai, they follow it and they capture me. So they brought me back to their camp. This is where the story of my martial art began. They brought me back to their military camp, me and 2 other kids, 2 other Vietnamese kids. There, bunch of Thai soldiers, they have hay, grass around, but they don't have any rooster to fight. It's for rooster fighting each other. So they make bet. So what they did, they throw us in there, and they got 2, 3 of their Muay Thai kids that know how to kickboxing. So the first Vietnamese kid go in, he got beat up. He didn't even last a minute. Same thing with the other one. And I went in, fought about 2 rounds. And see this scar right here on top of my eye? That's where he elbowed me. And that's where he knocked me out. And they brought me back. They say, they take us back to the camp. If we tell them what they did, they would come back and kill us. They were making bet on us. And we were known as a human rooster for Khmer. So a lot of kids, a lot of people don't know some of this story what they do with some of our Khmer people, kids and stuff. I don't think anybody talk about it. So that's some of the journey that still in my mind, in my heart. I'm going to carry it to my grave. Then we went at Galang, and that's where I came back to camp at Thai. Then we tell everybody what happened. Then the Khmer camp heard about it. So everybody say, okay, all the kids come. We train you martial art. We train you how to fight. We have Vuvinam. We have Khmer martial art and stuff. They started teaching us there at the camp. And that's where I start my martial art. From that day on, I won't let anybody beat me. I train hard. I fight hard.
So how old were you?
At that time, I was 9 years old, almost close to being 10. And then we fly to Galang, and that's where I saw the first movie, Bruce Lee. Yeah, Into the Dragon. And that's where I learned how to fight. I remember the reason I learned how to fight because I watched the movie, and I got a little bit of training. And at Camp 1, I remember one day, this Vietnamese, half Chinese. His parents rich. They rich. You can tell which one is high class, one is low class, right? Well, we fight over this beautiful girl. And I won the fight, but he won the girl. They both went to Paris. I went to America from the camp. So that's how I lose that battle. That was my first girl that I ever fight for. Yeah, I remember the time when we went back to the camp, Garang, when the French family came in to looking for French family at the camp. And I was up at the water tower, running up to the water tower. That's when we start building houses and, cafeterias and everything. Then the French, they come in looking for their loved one. And everybody just zoom when the car come up. Everybody just run up to the car and just look at them and stuff. And I'm looking, I can see everything. And then suddenly this beautiful headed girl come out of the car. I ran down and we all following. I just run up. And I look at everybody got black hair, and I say, heck no, I'm going to marry this girl one day. Somebody look like her. I speak out loud like that. And then as they about to leave, they hop in the car, and I just like looking at her, like amazed. I say, au revoir, monsieur, au revoir. That means goodbye. And then they stop the vehicle, they jump out, and they start heading toward me. I spook and I ran. I would have ended up going to Paris while I was in Thailand. That was my chance, and I didn't go. But I ended up going to Galang. So
imagine,
it's a romantic story.
What I'm trying to, the moral story behind this, that imagine if you took that chance, right?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have you here.
That's right.
Right? That's the truth, isn't it? Right? Every journey.
Every journey
there's
had
a purpose,
story.
right? There's always that story behind that, right?
Yeah.
We're happy. All of us is happy that you are here with us, especially part of the KhmerTalk. Being one of the member, and we're so blessed. That's why you're the first one that is on this podcast. So thank you for sharing that story. That's quite interesting.
Yeah. So, and then we finally, we were in, he ended up got her and go to Paris, and I get to go to United States. But,
I'm sorry, well, I'm laughing at
no,
you.
it's cool.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So that's 1979. At the end of 1979, that's when we start to, one thing about Galang Island is beautiful. When it comes to full moon, you know why it's full moon? Full moon is where all the monkeys on that island think they are Elvis. You know why? It's a mating season.
I see. So
every monkey was making so much noise, and that's why I said that whenever full moon is a mating season on that island, not just human. I mean, not just him.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
So every full moon, you recall that you're hearing all these noises, right?
That's mating season.
So that is the cue.
That's a cue.
That's the cue to say, okay, at what, 9 going on 10 years old, right? That was your cue. Something is going on. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a mating season. So every monkey is making so much noise and think they Elvis. So I got that from living in America. So.
Oh, okay.
But then we finally got sponsored, and we fly into United States. That was 1980. And we got sponsored to Sacramento, California, 1980. Got there and was staying with our sponsors, my cousin's friends that I went to college with. She married to a GI, so she managed to went to America first after the war and find out that we were at the refugee camp. She somehow managed to sponsor us. Got connection to immigration. Then we got to Sacramento. Things was changed. It's amazing. Yeah, we sitting in an airplane. We won't try the food because everybody say, you eat first. No, you eat first. Because we wasn't sure what those sandwiches make out of. And then, got snow pea. And then, what is this round stuff? What's this carrot? Who eat this? It was different. And then you sit by the wing of the airplane. You keep looking at the light, and it's like, are we flying yet? We take off at night. So, but when we got to California, when we fly in, when you look out to the window, you see all this high tower and then a bunch of cloud. And first thing we say, wow, man, they built their house in the sky. It's a big city. And then once we landed, I remember what it looked like. I was in a clothes where like a little kid, like so afraid of a new place. And that was fear. And I keep looking at those airplanes. I told myself, I want to learn how to fly one day. That's my desire. So we there in Sacramento, and the thing that they taught us in a camp was no matter what, learn some English. So only 2 words that I learned was yes and no. That was it. Yes and no. I don't care what you ask me. Yes or no. That's what I'm going to answer. Her husband, the sponsor lady, we stayed with them for a month or 2 until they got us an apartment. I remember during summer, they took us to Burger King, and he pointed at it, and you hungry? I say, and then I look at the picture, and of the picture back then, they put posters for demonstration of what their hamburger looked like. Or Whopper look like. And I look at the picture and I say, it's too big. I can't eat that. I make a sign symbol, too big, man. He laughed. But later we got in the ran us apartment. We got food stamp and stuff, assistance through the government. And it was a different cultures, different life because, everything was so different. And so, 3 months later, while we stay in the apartment, taxi cab pulled up. There it was. It was my father. I look out the window. The first thing I say, that's my dad. He found me. He'd been following immigration, find out where I'm at. So my father and my stepmom, he remarried. And his wife was a South Vietnamese officer in Navy who signed paper where the drop bomb and stuff. He got executed. And he managed to send his wife and 2 kids to Thailand to escape Vietnam. So that's where my father found her. And they've been together. And then the first thing I say, and that's my father's, and he came in, and my aunt and, my cousins, and I'm surprised that he took me with him. So it took me back to Louisiana. That's where we started, and took me to Louisiana, and that's where I started to learn English, summer school, and then there for the summer, and then they planned to. Then after that, 1981, we moved to a little town called Magnolia, Arkansas. We were the first Asian there in 1981. There's nobody there. And that's where I began to talk like a redneck. And that's how I learned most of my English then. We were back to Magnolia, Arkansas and Louisiana, back and forth. Our home is mostly in Louisiana, Kenner, Louisiana. It's a beautiful place. It's almost like our country. Hot, the water, the seafood and everything, you can pretty much catch it yourself. You can go to the lake and catch shrimp. You can take lake quarter tight to the rope and drop it down. You can pull up 2-3 crab and just scoop them up. And crawfish, wherever water and grass grow, you can see it. Crawfish is in there. You just scoop it up and there's crawfish in there. Growing up in Louisiana, that's where you get most of the seafood. And you live like our country. Well, when we got to Magnolia, starting going to school, they throw me in 4th grade at that time, and I was just turning 11 years old in 4th grade. I didn't even know how to hold a daggone pencil. I had to hold like this, okay? I never had education, so like I told you guys, when Viet Cong took over our country, I never go into school. I escaped. I ran the whole way. I go fishing, I go hunting, I go do whatever I got to do to bring food home as a young boy. When Vietnam took over, the kids that we play with, they always bully us Khmer, and I'm the one who always go defend those guys. If I can't beat them, I throw a rock at them or I shoot my slingshot at them, and we win. But when we got to Magnolia, Arkansas, my stepsister and I, we go to school. I remember couple of those white boys, they throw rocks at us. And I didn't know how to react, but I throw back at them. And then we go to school, and I normally sleep at 12 o'clock. I sleep. I go to sleep in a corner. They leave me alone. They know that I came from our country. At 12 o'clock, we normally fall asleep.
So nap, right? You take a little nap. How long was your nap?
Normally, just a powerful nap, probably 10 to 15 minutes normally, and they pretty much left me alone. Learning English was pretty tough because when you hear them speaking English, it sounds like a bird whistle at you. That's what English sound like when I first hear, Didn't quite understand it. It seemed like, I'm connect with the black people better, connection. And we play, and every day, I end up fighting every day against white boy or black boy every day because I didn't know how to say anything back. I didn't, summer school was learning ABC, and then you're trying to know the difference was he, she, and him, pronouns and verb and all that. I was getting so confused. I didn't know what. So the black kid be picking on this friend that I'm playing with. I go defend it, and I fight back, and I didn't know how to say it. I just bend over and just let them spank me. And every day I get spanked like at least once a day. And I got jumped by 4 black kids, and I couldn't beat them, so I grabbed rock and start chasing, throw at them. And then one day I didn't make the school, and the principal make announcements, please don't pick a fight with him because he don't understand. He just know how to defend himself. That's it. He came from a place where he have to defend himself. And my stepmom, and Dad, they didn't really know what my journey was. When they first bring me to Louisiana, they always found me under the bed, sweating, because I have all the nightmares all the things that I went through, and the nightmare of fear, because there's a demonic spirit that followed me around for a long time. I don't know, most people would say ghost or demon, but it did. And I always have nightmare for a long time. And then keep going to school there and, learning to adapt. And then a lot of Black people started to, adapt me. And I remember the Black teachers, she run her head through my hair. She said, "Can I run my hand through your hair?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, go ahead." So, and she said, and then, they want to see how we dance and stuff. So the only song I remember was "Sa Ga Ga I See A Gong Gong." That was the song, and I sang that, and I did the dance. That was 1981, and she got those recording tape. They record that, but their learning English was hard. And then my parents went there to Magnolia to start a Chinese restaurant, and that's where I learned to cook. And that's where my chef skill was. See, my father was a captain, South Vietnamese Army. When he make it to Thai, he make it to the United States. He went to work at the restaurant, and first he was just a janitor, cleaning up place. But his eye was on the chef, how they cook stuff, and that's how he learned. He observing. He didn't get to do it, but one day the owner say, "Hey, Vien, why don't you?" My father's name's Vien Yin, "Can you cook me something?" So my dad went and cooked him something, and the guy ate it, and he said he liked it. So he said, "From now on, you learn how to cook." And he cooked for a number 5 restaurant in Louisiana at the time. And that's where he went and moved to Magnolia and started his first restaurant, buffet restaurant where you can eat. And back then, money was good. They make good money. Gas was only 35 cents a gallon. Okay? Imagine gas with 35 cents to 50 cents a gallon, and you can go to the movie for a quarter. Take a girlfriend out to the movie in just a quarter.
That's a cheap date, Bo.
No, that's a smart date.
That's yeah.
Well, the money system back then was different.
I know.
And then then high school, we moved back to Louisiana, and then 1985 we moved to Florida, and I was 14 at that time. And that's began my new journey. They decided to go to Orlando, Florida in 1985, start a restaurant there. And then that time, my sisters I guess my stepsister fell in love with a young man in Louisiana, wrestler, a Latino. And there, they left me behind. They all left me. They just pack up and gone and just leave me there one day. And I was on my own. 14 years old, and the place where they rent, they pay that person money to let me stay there. And later on, they stopped paying, and the old guy and his wife and sons just let me stay there. So I stayed there for a year, actually 2 years. And the way I survived was in the morning I get to go to school, I get free breakfast, I get lunch, and then whatever the kids don't eat, I take it with me. And then I always have a cat's net. They left me a cat's net. So I go in Orlando, Florida, in the city, they have like a circle like this, waterfall. It's a lake pond, but it's stocked with full of fish. So I be casting, and that's how I live. That's how I survive. I catch those fish and live, and I cook it myself and all that. So I know how to survive because of thinking back how to survive in war. That don't mean nothing. I mean, all that, I have a place to stay, and I'm going to school, and I don't know you remember when the space shuttle got blow up. That was in 85. I don't know. The first teacher go up to space got blow up. I don't know at that time you guys in the United States yet. You probably is, but I don't know you remember it.
Yeah, I remember a little bit. Oh.
Yeah, and there was kids that pick a fight with me, and I went to school, middle school at that time, 14, and the school was I'm probably the only Asian there. 95% is Black. 5, probably 10 student that is white. You're Hispanic at that time, but I was the only Asian there. And I remember that white boy. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" One day he wear camouflage clothes. And I say, "Hey, G.I. Joe, how you doing?" Just as friendly, say hello. And the next thing he said, I want to see you in the middle of football field after school. I said, for what? I'm just saying hi, man. So meet him out there and end up having a fight with him. And next thing, teacher passed by. The gym PE teacher saw, what are you guys doing? Just wrestling. But I was beating him up. But, surviving at that time in Florida in the Hispanic family that lived next to the place where I was staying, then the old guy, they say, you have to leave. So the husband and wife, they took me in. They have a little baby, and they took me in. He take care of me for a little bit. And then when I turned 16, then I found my way back to Louisiana. And that's when I go back to Louisiana and trying to find them, and I go home. And then later on, they go back to Magnolia, and I finished my high school there. I graduated in 1980. No, I'll take it back. I graduated in 1990. And then after I graduated, I joined the military. Joined the United States Air Force, and then I didn't last long. My whole desire was wanting to serve 20 years in the United States military so I can retire young. I last only 6 months. After boot camp, we were training, and I was an MP with my squadron. MP that's when Desert Storm War started. And all the young people joined the military want to go there. And here I am. I want to go too. But I took a test for the Marine, but I didn't pass for the Marine. So I went for the Air Force. And then we did a 5-mile run in Barksdale Air Force Base in Shreveport, Louisiana. And then I hurt myself. I stepped up on a rock with full gears and broke my ankle. And they told me I have to retrain and to go with another squadron. And I said, I don't want to go through another train. Forget you guys. So, I recovered, and I haywire. I just left. I didn't sign anything. So, and then after that, I moved to find my way back. I was there in Shreveport, Louisiana. I stayed next to Taylor's, and then later on got out of service and stayed in Spring Hill, Louisiana. That's next to Shreveport, Louisiana, a little town. There, I cooked Chinese food restaurant for a Korean lady. I cooked Chinese food restaurant. And later on, a group of men, they were ex-military. We wanted to form a unit called Night Security. So we trained. They trained us, start training more in law enforcement stuff. And we were going to do bodyguard system, known as ESI, Executive Security International. We have a team. Our team is known as ECHO team. And my job is, I'm a tailman. And my job is very simple. I go investigate wherever we go. I go ahead of them, find detailed map, dictate where we can take our client there to escort our security, a personal person to go. That's what is my job, to observe, and also a driver. We all train shooting. Later on we joined like a couple of guys. They were specialists. A rifle explosive specialists and stuff. We take turns training different field. So that was my dark moment when Terry Lovesley was like one of our leaders. I went home to visit my uncle, and then I came back and found out that my team leaders molested a young lady, and I confronted him. I say, why you do that? We have better honor than that. We are warriors. Why you go and molest a young lady? I'm going to kill you. I told him that. Then he pointed a gun. He took his gun and he pointed right in my face. At that time, I say, you open fire because I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to pull my knife. I'm going after you. That was me. I got all the hatreds and all the angers of anything. It was from the war and everything. That was me. That was my hatreds toward anything. And I was a violent person. You give me a little bit of alcohol, I'm a very strong person. And then when the gun was pointing right in my face, that was the last minute of it. And then I walk away. I say, you don't want to open fire, then I give up that life. That was my team, 5-man team. I walk away from it. And then later on, I find my way, moved to Nashville, Arkansas. That's where my uncle, my father's brothers live. And he had a restaurant there. So I went there and I stayed with him about a month. And then I couldn't stay with him anymore. So I went to work for Bill Poland Wheat Eater Plant. That's where they make wheat eaters and stuff. And that's where I work. That was 1992. And life was tough. Everywhere I go, I was walking or running. So I run to work, but got a hotel. I rent a hotel at that time to go work and eat hamburger every day. I was sick of it. And then I remember in high school, I wrote a story about our journey. And I say in this word, there's not one perfect man at all. But my reading teacher read my story and she say, I really like your story. And I wrote a big story about my journey. And she read it all and she get to the point. She said, I like a lot your story. And my story make the newspaper too. Because in 1983, that's when they make the first movie called The Killing Field. And that's when people start to see really Khmer people, what happened. But still, nobody talking about GI, fought in Vietnam and stuff. They don't talk about anything. So she read my story. She say she like it. But the part that she say, like Moses, when you say there's no perfect man, but I want to let you know there's one perfect man that is real. And his name is Jesus. And with me, with attitude, anger and everything, who is this Jesus that is perfect? And once, find out later on, Jesus was the living Christ, the Lord, God. She was the preacher's wife. So they invited me to church. That's where my life began to change. That's when I found religion. I found a true living God. And that's when my life changed from there. Learning, go to school, hunger for the religion. Because changing from anger, hatreds, and everything into loving, caring, tenderness, and learning to accepting people, doesn't matter who he is, learning to become peaceful, making friends. And then later on, that's how God changed my life. That's when I found God and he changed my life from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Bong, would you say that was your identity? That through the journey that you went through, and then the person that you met happened to read your stories, right? And you were able to come through the challenges and able to find who you are at that time, right? Your work, your books, not books, whatever the journeys that you went through. You wrote a book, or it was just like a log of...
A log of journey that I wrote. When I did it, it took me, at least 2 weeks to write it, to my journey to that point. And that's when she read it. They start to publish to the local library, and then they published to the newspaper first, and then my story started. The whole town know about my story. Yeah. And then from there, they find out that I joining the Air Force. That's when they really glad, and they, but at that time, only thing that I remember was once, the teachers did that, and then she invited me to go to her church, and I went, and that's when I heard, her husband was a preacher, pastor, Mrs. King, that's her name, in Central Baptist Church, and he was preaching, and he say, no matter what you do in life or what you go through, God loves you, and you need help with anything, you call on his name. His name is Jesus, and he will be there for you. And I remember what he say. So in 1992, when I was in Nashville, Arkansas, looking at We Need a Plan, stay in that hotel, go to work, walk to work, run to work, and I was sick of it. I was, in my mind, I have no one. My uncle and I, our relationship wasn't great, So I had no one. And then I found out my older brother just lost his life because allergic to cat in Vietnam. My older brothers, my half brothers, and my mom at that time, I didn't get to go home. I never get the chance to go home. Then suicide started coming to mind. Said at that time I was lonely, have no one. What am I here for? And then I take a look in a corner. In most hotels, they have like a small Bible about the light, and it's called a Gideon Bible. And then I remember what the preacher was preaching about, the name of Jesus. So I say, Jesus, I don't know who you are. I'm going to take my clothes off and wash it and hang up. If you get it dry by morning, if I open this door and it's church for me to go to, I will go and find out who you are. And that was my attitude. And that's how I found God. And I went and opened the door. There's a Walmart, and there's a church called United Pentecostal Church. And that's when I went in. It's all white people. They were preaching, and I opened the door and walked in. Suddenly, everybody stopped, silent, and they look. And here is the little Asian guy standing in an all white man's church. And I say, can I come in? I want to know who Jesus is. Is that okay? They all say, come on in. And then the preachers keep preaching. That was Dr. George was the preacher, as I remember. And that's where my beginning of a new journey from there. Yeah. So, that's become perhaps my next, next time I know a story of that journey.
Yes, we would love to explore that journey with you. What I'm hearing your story is that mostly you were surrounded with just the American community, right? The community that is different from us, the Khmer, right?
Yeah. There's no Asian around for all those time that I was in the South. Only time you get to see Asian is you got to go to Dallas. That's when you see different folks. And if you don't have anybody speak with you for a long time, you start losing the language. And that's what happened to me. I spent all those years, got no one else. My stepmom, dad, they talk, but, somehow I don't practice it, especially my Khmer. Because my stepmom, she's half Chinese. The one thing she say, no speaking Khmer in the house. And my dad just, I guess he never did speak any Khmer with me after that. That's how I lost Khmer. But the Vietnamese was still with me at the time. But later on, I started losing once they left me behind. Then I don't have anyone to speak with. Yeah.
You did feel a sense of belonging with this new country that you're in right now, we're in right now, that we're blessed with, right?
Yes.
The sense of belonging. But yet, how about your roots? Do you feel like you're still rooted? Like, I'm Khmer, regardless, I'm in this white, culture.
Yeah. Well, when I lost all that dignity, the thing that got me kind of lost a little bit is when I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I went and tell my dad. I said, "Hey, I'm a Christian now," and that's when he said, "You are not my son. I never want to do anything with you anymore." He, at that time, I'm a man. And I went home and I tell him that I've found a new change in my life, a new hope. I found peace, And for my father, he's used to be an ex-Buddhist. And then they have a choice during Vietnam. They say you can stay as a Buddhist or you can go get educated and join the military. And that's what he did. He went to get educated and join the military. But he's the one that should know better because in Buddhist religion, even Buddhists tell them, go seek the truth. The truth will set you free. And so when I told him that, that's when I feel like I was lost, my identity of who I am. But later on, once I grow and found love and a wife, that's when I started creating my own identity because of who I am. But I never give up of who I am because I always see myself as Khmer from Cambodia, and I always find myself as I am Khmer no matter what. And that's why as a young man who went through all the trial and tribulation, the hardship, and then overcome through love of a true living God. And it gave me new hope, new life, new understanding. And then studying history is one of the most important things. And that's when I started to really focus on our history and our cultures and our people, where we come from, or who are we. Tell the truth, a lot of people here in the United States, a lot of them, we are foreigner. We are pilgrim to this country. We found freedom. This freedom that gives to us, I just wanted to encourage all Khmer, all Gun Khmer, don't set yourself low. You are smarter. We are smart people. We are smart race. Because look at it. Our kingdom our ancestors built those kingdom from what? Great engineers. They are great engineers. Built Angkor Wat that was from generation in the past. So that, every culture look at it. We are intelligent beings. So for here, we are living in a new land, new freedom. Don't set yourself short. We are smart. Pursue your goal. Stand up. Make yourself strong. Because that's your mom and your grandfather who came through the killing field, refugee camp. They deserve that. They deserve to see that their children succeed and for the future, but never ever forget our root, where we come from and who we are. I share you this story of my life because it gave me an opportunity to remember where I've been and what I went through to have this freedom. And I also have the chance to serve this country for the benefit of it, because I always tell myself, we give our thanks and honor to the men and women who served this country for our freedom. Just for example, World War II. If it wasn't for Americans to step into World War II, we all became Japanese slaves. And that's an honest truth, because they invaded our country too. India, Vietnam, they were heading that way. If it wasn't for American. Back then, we known as a good old boy. That's what American call the good old boy GI. Those people are passed already. Those are history. So all people, we honor our elders for what they went through. We honor them. But I encourage our young generation, listen to your elders and listen to their story. Treasure them. Value them. When you value their story, give us hope and future for our new generation. So you have a chance to learn Khmer language, cultures, art, and craft. I encourage you to do so. Because that's our identity. Look at all the beautiful art that our people can do in the past. Our trade is slowly passing away because our young generation don't want it to seem too interested in that.
I think, thank you, Bong, for sharing your story and your journey. And that is the reason why we have this Khmer Talk podcast, right?
Yeah.
Is to preserve our culture, our heritage, and our tradition. As a proud Khmer American, and of course, I love this country. I always give an example, like I was a seed, right? But who nourished me is America. Who gave me life is America. But I know my roots. I know who I am. I'm so, once again, blessed to be here, right?
Yep.
And once again, thank you, Bong.
Thank
you.
In
closing, thank you for joining us for this important conversation. The story of Khmer Refugee is not just about the past, right? It's about resilience, cultural preservation, and the ongoing journey of identity. Would Bong Sam share? As we reflect of these experiences, let's remember the value of compassion and the responsibility we all share in welcoming those who seek refuge. If this episode moved you, consider learning more about refugees, communities in your area, supporting organizations that assist displaced families, or simply by sharing the stories with others. Together, we can honor the past and help shape a more understanding future.
Yes.
Until next time, thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sua, and welcome to Khmer Talk, the podcast where Khmer voices shine. I'm your host. I took by myself.